Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Podfluxxx. This is episode 2. I am K-Fresh Kevin Fulton. With me, my good friend, the Cuban crippler and the innovator of strong style lucha, Ricky Reyes. Ricky, what's up, man?
Not much, man. Just ready to get this started. I feel like episode 1 was too much work
Yeah,
and not enough what we want this to be. So hopefully, for all our millions of listeners and subscribers,
yeah,
they
we're
will.
mildly popular.
Yeah,
Um,
this is true. Like, hopefully, this will be a little bit more what we want this to be because we just had to cover too much. I thought it was
yeah,
just too.
WrestleMania, covering all that was
Yeah,
a fucking task.
yeah.
But did you get any feedback on episode 1?
No, I mean, I had a couple people actually messaged me, said that they really liked it and thought it was good. I just feel like it wasn't what we want this to be. So, because
Yeah.
it was so many matches each day, maybe we should have did one day, uh, like one, break down each day, but half the matches, I don't think people really
Or,
truly cared about either.
yeah, or we could have just went over the things that were good and it would have been like an 11-minute episode.
Yeah, that's true too. We put a cover 2 matches and been done. So,
Yeah, I got some feedback. People were polite enough to remind me that I forgot to wear my tooth, but I got
okay.
all my choppies in this week, and they told me that my office was sloppy, so I did a little cleaning. So I think we're ready to roll here on episode
This
2. So let's jump into something. What do you want to jump into here, Rick?
I don't know. I wanted to address like the stunt style wrestling that's been happening lately. I don't know how many hours you and I have uh, made fun of and commented on the crappy stunt wrestling, but it just seems to be getting worse. And it's like, we all know that Uncle Dave, he loves that crap, and
Suddenly,
yeah, and it's like it I feel like wrestlers now, they're like more concerned with trying to please him, and do this crappy style of wrestling that it's all meaningless, it's so meaningless that now, like, on in the independent scene, it's like they do all these sequence of moves and then they do things without trying to pin the opponent, right?
right,
Because they're worried about doing the next thing, like,
right. They're not worried about trying to win.
right. So
Right.
now all the stuff you did is meaningless because you didn't even try to win the match with it, right? So why are you doing it? Because this is what we had planned.
It's really like, if you think about it, it's a big fucking circle jerk, right?
Yeah,
So
for sure.
it's the wrestlers trying to please the dirt sheet guys,
Yeah,
and it's the dirt sheet guys that are trying to please their audience, and their audience is the ones that are watching the circus tricks.
right.
So everybody's trying to make the other happy, and then now we're coming up. We got guys now who this is like what they're coming up watching. So
Correct.
this is what they think
Is
that this
wrestling,
is
right?
all supposed to be,
Right.
which
So
is
like
mind
my
blowing.
my biggest issue is like how I guess Uncle Dave had like rated that Viking guy from AAA
Yeah,
and Omega as being like a really good match. And I didn't watch the whole match from start to finish because I don't need to. I
right.
already know, we all know what it was going to be. But from clips and stuff and everything that I ended up seeing, it was just a nonstop, you know, just spot, and then it was like oohs and ahs all the way through. The sad thing is it it had, they put so much hard work into it, obviously, and Omega was there, probably like the perfect guy for that match because he could base for all that stuff, and
Right.
get this guy over, right? But like, who was the heel and who was the face?
That doesn't matter there.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like it had no emotion. Therefore, nothing that they did had any value. They were just running through a series of things, and
Tricks.
and like I didn't realize how small that Vikingo is. Like he looked like a little kid, and
Yeah.
like Omega's so big. Like I feel like if they would have changed it, tweaked it to where he kept trying to, or he kept getting off one or two things, and Omega kept just kind of stopping him and taking it away, and then build to a big comeback and then a spectacular finish. That they wouldn't have been wrestling for pops. They would have built to an eruption, and even in a loss, Vikingo would have gotten over, with Omega taking it away. Which we could go back to Ospreay and Ricochet, the match they had at Super Juniors, which was that one I did watch from start to finish. And I thought there was a point in the match where Ricochet stopped Ospreay from doing something, and the crowd like wanted to boo him. But
Right.
Ricochet did, instead of Ricochet taking that and being like, all right, I'll be the heel from this point on, and at least act mad, or act like he's trying to stop Ospreay from doing stuff and put a little steam on him for a big comeback. He just went and he did a flippy thing, and then there was a little bit of a boo, and then Ricochet did a flippy thing, and then waits for the crowd to react to it, and I'm like,
Right.
why would you do that? You know what I mean? The whole story was that Ospreay was the second coming of Ricochet. It's like who can outdo who, like,
Right.
and it wouldn't have hurt Ricochet for that moment in time to just be a little bit of a heel, like I'm gonna stop the new guy, which is exactly what they should have did with Vikingo, because then Vikingo goes to ROH, so it's still the same similar fan base, right?
It's the same exact fan base.
Yeah, so
like, don't get it twisted at all. It's the same.
Yeah,
The same handful. I don't want to say handful and sound condescending, but the same people that are watching one are watching the other because they're the same thing, and that's what those people want to watch. That's why it never gets any bigger there, and it never comes down any lower to a certain point unless it's on Friday night. Whoever is going to watch that is watching that, no matter what the three letters are, because it's all the same thing. Now, the Ricochet.
The thing is,
go ahead.
The thing is if Omega would have put heat on him and took some stuff away from him,
right,
and then gave him a series of things at the end that Omega kept kicking out of, kick out, 2 or 3 big things, Omega would have got over for his effort in the match. One of those pinfalls would have been like, holy shit, he's going to beat Kenny Omega.
right.
And then he doesn't, and then the barrage comes, the knee and the angel, boom, 1, 2, 3, holy shit. Then could have went to ROH, a bigger star, in those fans' eyes, like wow, and then he's obviously, I also thought it was stupid, like if you're working alongside AAA, you just beat the mega champion
right
on TV
in front of an audience.
Why?
2 or 3 times the size of AAA's normal audience.
Well, normal audience in the U.S.
Yes,
right?
That's what I meant. Yeah,
but I mean, like, what's the point in that? Did Omega win the belt? No. Now he takes the belt and he's going to work lesser guys in ROH. So now everything about Vikingo seems less than,
right. And
instead of better than.
The other thing is, this was the first time I've seen a full Vikingo match, right? So most of the stuff that he did in this match with Omega, he turned around and did the same shit in his ROH match. And then I saw a clip of a match he had with Game Changer Wrestling, and it was all the same. The 630 out of the ring through the table.
Yeah, to Alex Zane.
Off the apron. So now you're doing this. Now you're normalizing that as your move set to the audience that's watching.
Right.
And then, you know what? In 6 months, if he's on national TV, 2 out of 4 weeks a month, if he's on TV 10 times over the next 3.5 months, and that's all he does.
Yeah.
Then what?
Yeah.
It's
now
fucking
what?
normal again.
Right.
Or it's not normal, but it's normalized. One of the things that kills me about that kind of stuff is like the setup. You know what I mean? Like the other guy, like
waiting.
Like, did you happen to catch Commander and Sammy Guevara? Do you know who Commander is?
No.
All right, Commander's this dude, and he's just got red tights, a red mask, and might have like another color on it, right? And what he does is he just runs around on the ropes and does flips.
Oh, that's okay. So I've seen him run. He runs the whole length of the rope, right?
Yeah, and sometimes he turns and comes down the other side.
Oh, okay.
But then you got guys standing there
waiting, right?
Yeah, like a dipshit for 35 seconds while he gets his composure and gets himself ready, and he takes off running on the ropes. And you got to stooge for this, like.
Yeah.
I remember when like dives started first becoming like prevalent in wrestling. People started, like guys would be down, and they would be getting up and then turning around, and then here comes the fucking cannonball. Like last night on Dynamite,
right?
Swerve Strickland and Darby Allin had a really good match, and it was the first match to start the show. And, Swerve's outside of the ring. It's got a great camera shot to it. Out of nowhere, he turns around and he gets blasted in the mouth by Darby diving through the ropes 347 miles an hour.
Right.
And it looked incredible. And he wasn't hanging out to dry, just sitting there and waiting for him. And just everything they did, like they did that same kind of shit. But it made sense and it looked good. And nobody was standing around with their arms out like an asshole for a minute.
Yeah, but that's the Lucha style, though. Like, I mean, that's just, especially in AAA. That's that they're the worst at doing things where it exposes that it's so you're cooperating so much. There's too big of setups for their stuff. That's AAA. CMLL, it's not as much because they're a little more ground-based wrestling. So like in Mexico, the CMLL guys kind of take pride in being the better wrestlers of the two companies, and so AAA is more sizzle, and then CMLL is more steak, right?
Right.
So it's like WWF and NWA difference, right? And as far as ring work goes, so like the AAA guys just think like we'll just do a whole bunch of everything. They're thinking more and more, right? So when the AAA guys do come to America, that's their highlight. I mean, that's what they're doing. So now that you tell me that I didn't know what his name was, but I've seen the clip of him a couple of times. Like I saw him a clip in an indie show in LA. He did it. And then I'm like, look, and all I can do is watch the guys that are waiting, and they're all like huddled up. Yeah.
I'm watching the guys that are hung out to dry. Like,
and because he's standing on the rope and he's looking, and I'm like, all right, well, he's not doing anything. So what are these guys doing? And then I'm like, what is he going to do? And then he ran across the rope, and then he did like a really cool twisting dive, and they all went like, bowling pins down. And I was like, okay. Now what? So that was it, and then that was it. Like, did he win? Was he even the good guy? Is there a good guy?
Who knows?
And that's I just wanted to touch on that first because I felt like you said, like the generation now that are guys maybe 5 years or less in, they think that that's good,
right?
And it's not, and then it's like on the other channel, you got, one of the biggest pops of all time at the Rumble was Roman Reigns pie facing Sami Zayn, and telling him to do something, and Sami just not doing it, and turning his back. And then, this big and then look what it did for them, you know.
While the announcers laid out.
Yeah, exactly. No one was stepping on each other's feet. No, you know, nothing. They just wanted to feel it. Like that's why, like the past, since the Rumble, Elimination, and then Mania, I've wanted to watch what Roman does. You know, was really the attraction. You know,
that's the attraction with everybody there. Let me ask you a question. Since I said with the announcers laid out, Excalibur. You know Excalibur?
Yes, I know Excalibur.
I thought you did. What do you think about his announcing?
So I haven't heard a lot of it, but I remember he was doing it in PWG when I was like kind of finishing up, not coming out to PWG as much. Right. And I know I didn't like it. I didn't like it then.
Mm-hmm.
Clips that I've heard, I don't like now.
Mm-hmm.
He just assumes that everyone is educated on how he's educated on wrestling, right?
Yeah.
It's like he calls the moves by their names.
Yeah, which is so annoying.
It is. And then instead of, you know, educating the audience, you know, this is which is, you know, a so-and-so, a fuck me in the ear driver. And basically what it is he picks them up over his shoulders and drives, you know, he's not explaining anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
he doesn't like call like any emotion. You know what I mean?
His is all like too fake, I feel like.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of it is like, I know this, you know
right.
what I mean? Like,
exactly.
And it's not like to impart knowledge onto anybody. It's to show everybody how much he knows.
He knows, right.
And
he's commentating for him, for his character, as opposed to explaining what's going on. Because I've heard clips, like even funny clips of Jim Ross is like, we'll ask him, well, what the hell's that mean? You know, and I'm thinking like, I may know what it means, but I, as a wrestling fan, and the 13-year-old kid sitting front row, he's like, the fuck just happened? You know, like,
I love when he's like, it's a Uranagi slap jaw needle dick, and then JR's like, yeah, Tony, it's a Uranagi slap jaw needle dick.
Exactly.
That's what I mean. Stupid.
Yeah. Why don't you know this, Tony Schiavone? Wake up. Hey, Tony. We're live. We're live, pal.
Tony Schiavone's been calling a big boot a big foot since 1987, and it drives me goddamn crazy.
He don't give a fuck either.
No, that's like, dude, he's got a boot on. It's not a foot. It's not a foot.
Yeah, the foot is in the boot. Come on, Tony.
So, speaking of AEW, right? AEW, after, what felt like a whole week of news dominated by WWE, Tony Khan went on Twitter and said he had a major announcement to make, and he came out on Wednesday and they announced that they are going to London to the what is it, Wembley Stadium?
Wembley Stadium, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big fucking building.
Man, so yeah, about that. Maybe if they did, I mean, for wrestling's sake, obviously I want it to do well.
Right.
If they did this right, obviously we'd need, my whole thing with it is you want to do something that is going to like ignite AEW in that country through this show, right? Because this will be their debut event, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully for them, could become an annual event,
right?
If it does well, right? But realistically, AEW as a company, if they promote it right, if they push it enough there, and they spend enough money, could maybe get 30,000 people just out of curiosity the first time.
Right.
You still have to think of it as pro wrestling, almost like an old school business, as far as like building to something, right? Because I assume they're on TV there in the UK.
Yeah.
AEW? Okay.
I don't know what the network is or how
Yeah.
TV
But
works there, but
you would think that that would be their a serious um focus would be to have a couple of big main events there, right? And it's not like, I mean, I'm thinking like, is this where we see the Elite versus Punk and FTR?
a lot of people are thinking that,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of thinking I I've gone the other way on it. You don't need to do that there, because and here's my logic. It's London, right? Fucking Impact Wrestling is over in London. You know what I
True.
mean?
Yeah.
TNA used to go to fucking
Yeah.
London and draw a
Hmm.
house.
Yeah.
So AEW is going to show up there and they're going to draw a house. Now, in the future, I don't know. They're going to draw one house, at least. Whether they do anything there spectacular that's going to make people come back to see them the next time they come, that's up for grabs. But no matter what they do, if they put on if they do the CM Punk and FTR and the Elite, like you're gonna blow that load there, and then what are you gonna give them next time you go back? You know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah, but that's why I'm wondering. I'm wondering, like, what's the long game there? Is it to do a series? Is the next thing maybe a tour at the end of the year
Right.
through the UK where you do 2 weeks, do like, you know, 11, 12 events, almost like just to make your rounds and then maybe announce there that you're coming back in 6 months at the stadium again for an annual event. Now it's a thing. Or another thing too is this is all out or all in or
It's all
what
in.
is okay. And then is it right that the next week they have another pay-per-view?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering. I don't know if somebody said that just tongue in cheek that oh yeah we're doing all out the week after. Let's say for instance they're not right. And
Okay.
normally they do all out. I don't know. Is that the one they
September?
do? Yeah, it's like August, September, but
Right.
they do it in the same city, I believe, right?
Is
Like
that
they
the
just go
Vegas
to
one?
Chicago for that. Chicago or
Oh,
Vegas. I don't know. Everything is
okay.
Vegas themed, so I'm confused. But
Okay.
like are if you say you sign that match, okay, and you decide that match is the main event and you're gonna do it over in London, your domestic audience here, are they going to feel some type of way about that?
Well,
That
to,
should have
to,
been our match. Now, my
to,
other thing is like everybody's talking about you know, hey, sorry, I have to admonish my dog. Take it easy, Dave. But what I'm saying is like everybody's like, well, even if they only sell 30,000 tickets, that's successful. But if you're only going to sell 30,000 tickets and you're like shooting for 30,000 tickets, why not book a building with 30,000 seats in it,
right.
and then you
Like,
got a camera shot of a building that is fucking jam packed, swinging from the rafters, rather than a stadium that's at a third of its capacity. And what can the rent on that building be?
well, yeah, I understand. Like, I probably would have done like the O2 Arena, which is like the big building that WWE goes to, I think.
Right.
And then, yeah, you fill that up. Uh, Fill that up. Do a few months later, 2 months, 6 months later, a tour there,
Yep.
hitting the smaller. Then announce the
Their stadium
stadium
show.
the next 6 months later.
Right.
This way, they've had a taste of it and hopefully they want more. But I'm thinking like, do you do the like in my head? I'm thinking, the do you do like the Elite versus Punk and FTR? there and then do singles and then tags the week later for the big All Out in whatever the opposite one is? Or do you do the singles in London and then the big tag? Do you do that close? Does it make sense to, I mean, how do you advertise that?
Doing that like that back to back is gonna, no matter what, one's gonna muddy the waters on the other.
Yeah, but you have to have the big names, right? And you either have to do all the big names obviously got to come to London because they're going to be drawing the house. So I think you need Punk on it.
Right.
They need Punk desperately, no matter what they what they think or say. Yeah. But like, what do you do with them there? I mean, I feel like him being there will up the audience in a big way. That's going to draw people there, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, like, not to be a dick, but if they would have done this in the right order, then it wouldn't have mattered. Who
what do you mean?
The fucking stadium first? Go to the feed and see what you have over there, and like you were saying, build to something. Yeah. But they're always like, "Oh, this is the first time this guy's facing this guy. We're going to start the program, get the chainsaws." And we're working our way down to a regular fucking wrestling match.
Right. But that's why I mean, it's the classic. I think Cornette says it like, you have a match that needs a stadium or a stadium that needs a match.
Yeah.
So this is where we're at. We have a stadium
that needs a Punk.
That needs like a major match, right? But again, is there really a pay-per-view 7 days later again? Like,
I mean,
what does that do for your pay-per-view audience?
Right.
I mean, if London is going to make money here, it's going to make money on the pay-per-view, right? And then you're going to tell them
whatever time it would go on.
Yeah. So, and then you're telling them, okay, now we're back. Here's another pay-per-view.
Yeah. Well, we need that $50 again.
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't know.
Well, I mean, wrestling fans seem to have more money than ever these days.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know. I would space it out, needless to say, but I don't know. I just thought it was interesting and wanted to hear a different opinion on it because of the fact that, again, they're not really testing the water as much. I mean, you can send feelers and then have people that show interest, but that doesn't mean. I mean, I don't know. I hope everybody, for the wrestlers, I hope it does well, right? But I mean, because if it doesn't, I don't know. That could look.
So I just pulled up now. I can't speak to the credibility of a website called smarkoutmoment.com.
Oh boy.
But they've got All In listed for Wembley Stadium August 27, 2023. And then they've got All Out assumed September 2023, not confirmed, and venue to be determined.
September?
Yeah, the next month.
Right.
So they're going to put a month between these, which is at least a semblance of intelligence rather than trying to get people to spend their money back to back. And then you've got at least 3 weeks of TV, depending on how the calendar works, to do something off of one going into the other, assuming that, you get CM Punk back for the one in August and he still works for you in September.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So now you go. So now we're seriously looking at a stadium that needs a match in the worst way.
Right. Right. Where are you on that whole, the nerds call it Brawl Out fiasco with the CM Punk and the Bucks and?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I mean, well, from my perspective, like I used to beat Punk up in the New Japan dojo before he got to UFC. So when I knew he was going to UFC, I was the first one to say, yeah, this is not going to end well. And
Yeah.
it didn't. And then knowing the Bucks and Punk, like that's just like probably the worst hissy fit slap fight probably ever, Um, I don't know. I feel like Punk was taking their steam, the Bucks steam away, and they were upset about it or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen the Bucks in years, obviously, but from people that have like worked with them, actually a guy that's there now, I won't say his name, but I remember him telling me like, man, what's these guys' problems? Like, like they're so worried about you getting over on them that you can't do any of their stuff, or any of your own stuff. You got to spend most of the match doing their stuff,
Right.
and so I mean, obviously anyone with half a brain can see that watching any of their matches, but I don't know. I didn't read too much into it, but I will say that the more Punk probably doesn't say, the more quiet he is about the situation, probably the more angrier he is, I would say,
Yeah.
like the whole thing with Colt, like he didn't say anything for years, right? And
Yeah.
people
Years.
said, yeah. So, he doesn't say much about anything, so that usually means that,
Yes.
he's pretty upset about whatever. I mean, the thing is like, whether you're wrestling or you're not, like when you put as much work into this as like guys like me and like, Joe and Punk and Low Key and all those guys, like, we kind of all started in the same, when independence became cool type of thing, that whole era, the early 2000s.
Right.
We were passionate about it. So what we ended up building and what ended up evolving from what we were doing to what it is now, it was the new, like I remember the Bucks first match at PWG, like it was me and Rocky against the Briscoes that night, and I think they worked on a dark match or something, and they were just going right, boom, 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 all this stuff, and the crowd's popping, and that was ironically enough the match where I think the Briscoes got to the building super late, and they just came to the back and just started changing, and we were like match 3, and they wouldn't change it. And I'm like, all right, I'm not worried about it. We're wrestling the Briscoes,
Yeah.
So we just went out and tore the house down with almost nothing called except going into the finish, obviously, like, hey, what do you want to do for this? And, you hear Mark like, yeah, baby, I'm good. Let's go. Let's do this. And then we just went to the curtain and, we're like, all right, we'll figure it out when we're out there, And that was probably, I mean, we wrestled the Briscoes maybe like 10 times, and that was probably the most fun match we've ever had, was that one, because we just went out and did it, right? And but what I'm getting at is like watching the Bucks do so much that night, and the crowd was reacting because they just never saw it.
Yeah.
And it's a PWG crowd, right? So okay, the 300 people, loved it for what it was, but I mean, obviously, they're still trying to they're trying to shove that down everyone's throat still, instead of evolving into a better performers and better wrestlers, I should say, and still highlighting their strengths with using basic psychology would be nice once in a while. To tell a story, right? But they're just going with that car wreck mentality of like, hey, we'll just do a whole bunch of our shit until we're done and we don't have anything else to do, and then we'll end the match, is kind of what it looks like when, But I mean, like the whole interaction with those guys, it's like a clash of a generational clash. That's what it stems from. Punk knows what's right and what's wrong, and these guys are trying to say, well, we're writing our own way, and that just doesn't work.
Well, I can tell you, I feel like it doesn't take a genius. If you sat there and you watched him talk through that press conference, maybe you don't want to go have a conversation with him in his locker room right after.
But
What I mean?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he drew so much attention to that stupid press conference.
Yeah,
Probably more people watch that than watch the Bucks on
yeah,
Dynamite every week, right? Because he was saying stuff that was real. He was
hmm
saying stuff that he truly felt or
hmm
whatever. And it was kind of, you opened the floodgates is what they did,
right.
because as he sat there and he's like, you know what, I've never talked about this. And I'm thinking, and here we go.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It was like, he thought, you know what, fuck it. I think so. Once in a while you tweet or you write something or you post something, whatever, and you get various opinions, right? Now think of a person who has millions of people and millions of opinions, and how long he's not replied to any of that stuff,
Right.
like how much was built up deep
Right.
down
How
inside
long?
him.
Yep.
Right. And then if you got, these little cheerleader girls coming up to it like, hey man, what the fuck? Yeah, man. At that point, it's just, you probably just see red and it's just go time,
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, who knows? But at the end of the day, they need him more than he needs them.
Yep.
AEW. Obviously he could. I mean, he wanted to screw with them. It just, call the old man and go back.
Yeah. Walk right out the
Um,
door.
yeah, for sure. I mean, wait it out and then pop up whenever, and that. I mean,
He
it
could
was
probably
just
get them to buy his deal out, but
possibly, but at the end of the day, it's just for stupid stuff. And if it is true that he still wants to come back, because that's what I've been seeing.
yeah.
Um,
Especially today. It's been big today
yeah,
on
for
Twitter.
some reason, yeah. So maybe because he knows there's still, well, obviously he knows there's still a possibility if AEW does well in London, at least WWE will say, hey, what's that blimp on the radar?
Yeah.
Um, and it's a step in the right direction for them. It's a huge gamble. So maybe because Tony Khan seems to be a likable guy, and maybe he really does like him and appreciates him. Maybe he's thinking, okay, maybe I do want to come back because this is huge. Like, Wembley Stadium is not, the VFW up the street. So
No.
WWE will take a little more notice, at least. They're
Yeah.
not worried at all, but I'm
No.
saying, like, at least they'll be like, oh shit.
Especially if they draw. If they
But
draw
that's what
in
I'm saying.
a
Like,
market that has been predominant, like think about it, like
mhm,
England, Europe, whatever. It's all been kind of dominated by WWE over the last handful of years. Their
absolutely.
tours, their big indies were on the WWE network.
Yep.
They were letting their their
NXT
NXT
UK was
UK
huge.
guys work
Yeah.
UK indies and shit.
Right.
Like they were
Yeah.
they were kind of running the show over there and
Yep.
giving London something to call theirs. So it's interesting to see what AEW does over there. But now I want to talk something about promoting and advertising in wrestling. Now,
Okay.
did you know there was a Battle of the Belts show last weekend live on Friday night?
I did not know.
Okay.
This is the first I've heard of Battle of the Belts.
Okay, Battle of the Belts. You and I, we grew up with Clash of Champions,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And what that was, for the people who don't know, was because we're fucking ancient, but
Old.
it was a quarterly, like every 4 months, a
Yeah.
wrestling special that would be on
TBS.
TBS,
Right.
and it was 2 hours of like main event matches,
Yeah.
where all the champions wrestled. Now, Pop Vince owns Clash of Champions, so Tony Khan has Battle of the Belts.
Ah, okay.
That they put on right after Rampage on Friday. And this was their 6th one. I don't know if Rampage was a part of it or if it was after Rampage, but whatever. It went on Friday Night Live. Okay?
Okay.
And it drew 415,000 people. Okay?
Yeah.
The lowest rated Clash of Champions drew like 1.5 million. Back then it was households
Right.
and not actual viewers.
Right.
1.5 million households. Now let's assume that that household had one viewer in it. That's 1.5 million people, right?
Right.
That's 1,500,000 people. I'm not brilliant, but I'm pretty certain that's how math works. But they used to build to Clash of Champions
Yeah.
like they would for a pay-per-view.
Right.
Okay? I don't watch any of the AEW YouTube stuff. I'm starting to think that maybe it's like, like those homework assignments that you used to not know about that were like, oh, you can dive in a little extra over here, like extra credit homework.
Right.
But now I'm starting to think that maybe it's like mandatory extra credit homework because I watched Dynamite. I don't watch. Nobody watches Rampage.
Right.
I watched Dynamite, and I didn't really hear anything about it.
Right.
Granted, I do a lot of fast forwarding through Dynamite. like there was an episode a couple of weeks ago where it was actually the Vikingo episode, and until that point, there was only 25 minutes worth of like watchable wrestling program on it. And but I feel like they make an announcement on Twitter,
Yes.
right? And then they have Excalibur speed read through important announcements. Like, dude, he's like the fucking Micro Machine guy. Like, they can't get the graphics on and off the screen fast enough.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, I don't understand. Like, if you're going to do a special like this, like, why aren't you building something for it? Why aren't we seeing something with, like, your champions? But then just last night on Dynamite, there was a international title match, and there was another different. The TNT title match. So like, and those are they were throwaways.
Right.
But like, why aren't you building bigger stories for that shit that you can get a few months out of by putting on TV a promo one week? This guy gets a squash the next week and build something up so that way when you get to your Battle of the Belts, maybe more than, 400,000 people will watch it because they'll know about it. The entirety of wrestling fan base isn't on Twitter or already watching your show. And then also last night, on Dynamite, Jeff Hardy comes back.
Right.
Out of nowhere. I guess great for Jeff Hardy. He looked like Jeff Hardy, so I'm going to assume that he's healthy and all that, whatever the fuck. But like, do you think it's smarter to have been like last week, hey, we're going to have Jeff Hardy next week on Dynamite, and he's going to address his situation, right? So now you're telling people that megastar Jeff Hardy is going to be here. They've got 7 days to tell their friends. People are going to turn the TV on waiting for Jeff Hardy. And even if he goes, hey, I just want to say thank you to everybody for supporting me, but this isn't about me now. I'm just here to be supportive of my brother, Matt. And then he comes in and does the run-in the same way he did to help Matt when he was getting the shit kicked out of him. And then it's, we should stay tuned till next week to see what Jeff Hardy has to say about this. Now you got a rating for 2 weeks. Where does the surprise return or comeback or debut, when does that become counterproductive to your television show?
Well, they've already killed it because they have a surprise signing or a debut or something of somebody.
They did the same thing with Jay White in a throwaway segment.
I was just going to say, Jay White's debut was basically nothing. Like, it didn't do anything for anybody. First off, it didn't do anything for Jay White because if you don't know Jay White, all you see is this jack dude running to the ring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It didn't help Juice. It certainly doesn't help Ricky Starks, who's like
no.
who's like a guy you should have the rocket ship strapped. Him and MJF should be side by side, but that's another story. So they've already
that's booking we'll fix later.
Yeah, exactly. Like this surprise, the surprise thing that they keep doing is no longer special. It's just like, oh, who's the next surprise next week? Or they beat that to death.
Mm-hmm.
They've beat special announcements to death. They've returns. It's just like if you know you're getting Jeff Hardy to come back, I would have said last month Jeff Hardy returns in April for like 2 weeks. Then you throw in Jeff Hardy returns next week.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, maybe you send an underneath guy to the ring, and then boom, Jeff Hardy's music. He's the first segment you have on Dynamite. He comes in, boom, get over match. Jeff Hardy, he's arrived, he's in shape, boom, right? Then you do the Matt Hardy stuff later on in the night, and then Jeff makes that save, there. This way, you get the save spot. The Hardys are together at the end of the night. Everybody's happy.
And
but
you might come back next week to see what happens.
Exactly. Maybe Jim Ross, oh my God, the Hardy brothers are back. I can't wait for next week. Where's FTR, the World Tag Team Champions, the Hardys versus FTR? Could that happen? See you next week. I don't know. Yep. Who cares? Like they lie about shit all the time in worse ways. You make a dream match like that, and fans of two different generations were like, oh shit, the Hardys versus FTR? That's dope. Like
in Wembley.
Yeah, let's do it. Like, absolutely, and I don't know. Yeah, that it could definitely be done easier, simpler, and with the stuff that they have access to, making a hype video for Jeff Hardy. Maybe he's working out in one, and then because he came back and he looked, great. He looked jacked. You want something, not just another Jeff Hardy return because he's done like 74 of them, right. But you want one a little bit different. Maybe he's lifting weights, and like working out, and you're like, wow, I've never seen Jeff Hardy like this. Then the next one is a highlight reel, boom, boom, all this stuff, boom, And then it's like, oh man, in April, oh shit, next month, and then next week, it's like, whoa, what's he gonna do? What's he gonna do? Then ham sandwich number one's waiting in the ring. Boom, Jeff Hardy's music. Oh shit, like it's fucking Jeff Hardy against Joe Schmo from up the street, and then kills him. Bam,
up the street.
And then
the guy that hangs out in front of 7-Eleven.
Yeah. He just wrestled Jeff Hardy. But then like you said, it pops a number. Matt Hardy's coming on later for whatever he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
You run that angle there. You hit Jeff's music again. Hopefully he doesn't dance this time, but he just runs to the ring. Right. And then something better than old man chair shots that he did to everybody.
Yeah.
A buddy.
With Jeff Hardy, the chair. Uh-oh. Is Ricky cutting out again? Yes, he is. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to try to figure out something that I learned. So hang on a second. Did I just screw this whole thing up?
No, you're good.
Oh, you're back?
Yeah, I'm back.
All right, you made it.
You
made it through this time. I was getting ready to start calling shit on the fly again.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lost art, I guess. Utilizing social media and stuff. I feel like they rely on it too much instead of just using it to move move storylines along, as opposed to just saying like, oh, well, Tony Khan tweeted something out today. Who cares?
Right.
Who cares? Like, if you want people to watch your TV show and buy your merchandise and go to your live events, I need to see it happening on TV and say to myself, oh, I want to be there.
Yeah.
Right? As a fan, that's what you want. You don't go, oh, I just like we can, because we don't need to see it. We do it so we can scroll through Twitter and get all our updates and be like, okay, I'm caught up on AEW this week.
Right.
Right. But you can't solely rely on that. You should use it along with basic storytelling, because this way, if you started a teaser with Jeff is coming back next month, that's its own buzz.
Right.
But then April hits. Now we're like, okay, and then you announce next week. It's just like we're just slowly moving in that direction.
Right.
So you hope that one of the biggest stars you have in your locker room is going to pull you over 1 million views that week. You would hope, or you would think that would be their intention.
Well, it didn't, because
it should be. No.
So
yeah, but I mean,
don't know why this just popped
that's
into my
what
head.
I'm saying.
Go ahead.
It just bothers me that they don't think maybe 3 weeks out worth of something as big as a Jeff Hardy return, or treat it like it should be that big and it's Jeff Hardy. Or when you invest all this money into a Jay White, who for the next 10 years could be the guy there, that you just say, yeah, go run and save juice and then get the fuck out of the ring. Like, I saw the whole debut of Jay White and I was like, oh my God, it's Jay White. That was it.
Yeah.
How was his dude? Yeah. Like, I don't even like what that bothered me. That's the one thing that I think AEW has fumbled the hardest, because
consistently.
Well, they do that consistently, right? But I don't know if you followed Jay White's exit from New Japan this entire year.
Smart me up.
Okay, so when he dropped the belt to Okada at the Dome, they've been drawing money together for years now, really. Right. But he got up, when Okada was standing there with the belt or whatever, Jay White got up and like whispered something in his ear, and it was a long moment. And then when he lost his loser leaves Japan match, he lied in that ring for a really long time. What I'm getting at is, like, it was meaningful for him to say goodbye to that brand and that company, right? That made him. So that's a huge thing. And then to leave for AEW, which is mistake number one. And then that was his debut, was like a run-in.
Yeah.
I mean, Jay's a cool dude and a great guy. I just felt like he should have been like, yeah, nah, I need more.
Yeah.
Like, I have to be a big deal. And he should remember that the way he left was a huge deal, like a huge deal. You know what I mean? I mean, even New Japan posted stuff of him like laying in the ring, like, thank you, Jay. And he was like their number one heel. You know what I mean? I mean, he really, like, I don't know, maybe because I got to know him while I was there, and he was like basically the leader of like New Japan Strong, because he didn't want to go back to Japan until the restrictions were lifted. So he purposely stayed and took Strong like to that next level, like without as world heavyweight champion. You know what I mean? Like, it was a big deal for him to not be in Japan. And then when he did come back to Japan, like, that long walk that he took at Dominion was like one of the coolest things ever. And it was like he was making that walk and with like, he was on a mission, and it was just like a different Jay, like, from that point on. What I'm getting at is, like, he should have spoke up and said, I can't have a debut like this. Yes. Yes, I'm worth more than a run-in.
Now, check out this segue, which makes you wonder though what they would have done with him across the street now that good old Vince McMahon is back in charge and running the ship over in WWE, even though he technically now works, or he will when all the paperwork goes through, for Endeavor.
Right.
Endeavor. I want to talk a little bit about the sale, but I want to start with how fucking ridiculous Vince McMahon looks. I got a haircut once, right? And I went to the barber and I was like, listen, I need you to take care of my beard and trim my mustache. And he did the same shit to me on the mustache, right? Where he
Damn.
gave me like 3/4 of an inch of missing hair and then just a little pencil deal. And I went home and was competent enough and of sound mind to go, I guess I got to shave everything off now. Because
Start
this
over.
is fucking insane.
Yeah.
And then the next time I'm about to get my hair cut, I was like, hey, where's that guy? And they're like, turns out he was on crack. We fired him. So that's how that story ends. But what in the actual fuck?
I don't even know what's like. I don't even know what to say. It's so bad. Yeah, he just looks like a crazy person. And it's just weird that, I mean, I don't know how true it is, but people were saying that they were talking about signing Jay, and then they got whiffed.
Off.
Yeah, then they got whiffed that Vince was coming back, and I don't know who pulled what, but because how does Jay White not fit in WWE? Like, I don't know.
Right.
His style of wrestling is so old school and walk and talk. It's like, you know, he almost fits perfectly in there for that.
Yeah. There's one thing that
fits
he doesn't
there
fit
more
well that they like.
than he. Yeah, it's like he sticks out like a sore thumb in AEW with his style of wrestling.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I can't comment on Vince's look. It's just, he's been looking rough for I don't know how long now. Like,
he legit looks like they just painted him.
yeah, like everybody was saying he looked like Gomez from Addams Family.
Yeah.
Because of the string beard or mustache.
Yo, but
Yeah,
who like you're telling me there are people are around him that are like looking great, Vince? Like
Bruce Pritchard, yeah.
Like Triple H of all people doesn't have like 940 jokes on the ready. Like,
right. Oh
I
yeah.
don't understand it. I don't understand it. But he came back and he made a monster deal for that company.
Man, like what, 3 or well, he wanted 9. They gave him 9.3.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still in charge.
Yeah.
And he's getting, I think, 1 point something million for his salary. Yep. And did you hear what his bonus percentage is? Like 175% bonus
of what his base salary is. Yeah. And he retains the rights to all of his own intellectual property.
Yeah. Right. And they're only majority owners by what, 1%, 2%,
something like that.
They're 51. He's 49.
Now let me throw this at you because I don't know. I mean, believe it or not, I'm no lawyer. All of those years where he was the lead play-by-play on Monday Night Raw.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's from '93 until 97-ish.
6, 7,
okay.
Yeah. Mm.
Isn't that his intellectual property?
Well, yeah, I think it's more of like he has control on what is put out. I think.
Right, but I mean, like, he can use Like,
Right.
he can use any footage of him
Right.
after he walks away from there.
Right.
So
Right.
technically, and then you got to think about superstars of wrestling from the 90s, the pay-per-views in the early 90s and the 80s, where he was doing the lead play-by-play on, and technically he could take all of that library with him and do
Yeah.
something different with it,
Right.
because it's his intellectual property.
Because
It's his
his
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, man. It's Vince McMahon. What did you think was gonna happen? Like when it came out clear that is actually there was real interest in him selling.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I thought would happen. I thought whatever he wants, he'll get more,
Mm-hmm.
and somehow he'll still be in charge of the entire world.
Right.
Like someone just gave him a bunch of money and said, "Yeah, you figure it all out like you've been doing."
Yeah. This is
That's what
ours
happened.
now. This is my ball, but you can play
That's what
with it.
happened.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Here, I'll buy you a new ball
Yeah.
and a new court, and I'll just be over here watching you enjoy it.
And when you
Like,
leave, you can
that's what
take
he
it with
did.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can take all this with you. Here you
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Oh God, that's
I
like
mean,
crazy. That's
yeah.
like having that nerdy friend in high school that had all the money and just wanted to buy you stuff so you'd be friends with him. Yeah. Like, oh, I'll get those chocolate milks today. Oh, thanks, pal.
Yeah. Thanks, pal.
Yeah. But goddamn, just don't sneeze. Now, I guess we should start winding down here in a little bit. But I think we needed to talk a little bit more. We talked a lot about Roman Reigns and the bloodline and everything in our first episode last week, but I think there's just still more to go over here on Roman. I think you might have killed your mic.
You good now?
Yep.
I think that just because Cody's been saying it, everyone's looking at it like this is his story. But the reality is, this is Roman's story.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I get the whole the Cody story thing. Like, I understand it, right? But I just feel like you know, with Triple H saying like the story continues, he didn't say whose story continues.
Okay.
I looked at it when he said that, like, you don't get it. This is the Roman Reigns story we're writing. You know, and the reason why I say that is I remember, I don't know, when Tanahashi finally dropped the belt to Okada. It took him like three tries or whatever at Wrestle Kingdoms or whatever, and finally he won. And then I remember reading something that Gato, who's the booker in New Japan, saying like, now we build Tanahashi into a legendary status, meaning like the phase of him being the guy and the ace and like the measuring stick for all the other wrestlers, he's moved past it, right, into like a legendary. So now it's like more about building, like strengthening the legacy that no one could touch after Tanahashi leaves, right? And then one day Okada will try to pass it, and then hopefully pass it, right? So I just look at Roman as like, he's been, like, someone posted up all the main events of the past few WrestleManias, and he's been pretty much at the top, right? And then you compare it to like Cena, right, where he did what, 10 years straight. So I'm thinking like this is their way of saying like, okay, well, now Roman is, now we're pushing him into that, pushing him past the Cena
mark.
Yeah, mark, correct. Yeah. So it's like Cena's the measuring stick, right? Everyone kind of says now how do we make Roman even better? What did John not do that Roman can do to be better? I feel like that's what it really is. Because the way Triple H said the story continues, like he didn't say whose story. So I thought that was like a hidden like a clue of what we're really doing here is just pushing Roman past all almost untouchable status, you know.
I like what I wonder, like the reason why, I was thinking about it because we talked about it for the WrestleMania episode, and you were like, man, you really thought Cody was gonna win, and then I was thinking about it like, why did I think Cody was gonna win? And then I realized that like I felt that way and I thought that way, and it was because since Cody's come back, he's been treated or presented as better than everything else they had there, right? So in my eyes and in the eyes of a lot of other fans, he was the only person who had any credibility, right? Or any perception to be somebody that can beat Roman, because everybody else that's there is presented the same way they've been presented year after year after year.
Right.
And it was believable that there was basically a new ready-made star there.
Right.
You don't believe that anybody existing on that roster there is going to beat Roman Reigns.
No.
Because everyone is presented so much less than Roman.
Right.
So now, if it's not Cody, right? Now do we go another 1,000 days before another ready-made star falls into their lap? And that's what because the one thing they haven't done over the last 10 years there is really build new like stars, like mega stars.
Right.
Except for the one.
Right.
And he's the one.
Right.
Roman is the one. Now, what I wonder is when Roman's ready to take, cut his schedule back a little more, walk away, maybe take a month or whatever, 2 months, whatever. Is the bloodline sustainable? Is this story and this angle sustainable without Roman Reigns?
I don't know. I just feel like he's so far above everybody else. I don't think so. The bloodline, like trying to keep them as a unit,
Right.
doesn't make all that much sense to me, I guess, without him. It's like having the Hart Foundation and then not having Bret Hart.
Right.
Or the Horsemen not having Ric Flair,
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't go. Like
Conflux without Ricky Reyes.
Yeah, right. But like it just doesn't without that, like he doesn't have to be there every week. I get that.
Right.
But and who knows, like WWE looks to be constantly changing so much. So like back in the day, like the complaint was you had to be there, right, constantly.
Right.
Now it seems like they're okay with him not being there, and then as long as Paul's there, it's okay. Not to have Roman, but you have Paul Heyman talking for him. That makes sense. Same thing they did with Brock. Brock wasn't there every week, but Paul was there. So, I mean, now we're with Roman, we're at like the Mayweather level of now we're just waiting to see him lose.
Right.
Like we're paying to see the one happen, the one loss. When is that the right time? Like would it even been Cody this year if he didn't get hurt? Because he took a big chunk of last year off.
Yeah.
And then he came back at the Rumble with such momentum that it was clear that he was going to win the Rumble. And he told us that he was going to win, at WrestleMania.
Right.
And Roman didn't start selling it until maybe like the last couple of weeks that maybe he might get beat. And then, he didn't. So
one thing that I forgot to mention on our WrestleMania recap that really stuck out to me was after the match with Cody, when Roman took his title and he was leaving, right? Yeah. And he needed Solo to carry him out.
Right.
Right. I just felt like there was like almost like a super villain-esque, like I got that by the fucking skin of my teeth. Like that almost killed me.
Right.
But it was something like that really puts Cody over also, because he hasn't walked away from any of his other title defenses.
Yeah.
Like that.
Right. That's true. I mean,
that stuck out to me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're going with Cody in that slot for now, like the super baby face, right? Because no one's more over than him now that Brock turned. There's no other believable baby face.
Unless that goes the fucking complete opposite way that they think it's going to.
Yeah, but I mean, they still have AJ. Can always, I think he was supposed to be ready to come back before WrestleMania, so they just might be holding on to him for something.
Right.
We can always throw AJ in there. Yeah, we can always throw AJ right back into feuding with Roman because he's believable to win. They just need a handful of guys to get them through to the next build of the Rumble, basically. So like basically what I was getting at was, like the story that they keep talking about, or at least that Triple H is talking about, I think, is the Roman Reigns story, because they could go another till next WrestleMania. I mean, there's no other place he should lose it but WrestleMania.
Yeah, no.
And then when he does, the next question is, then what?
Right.
Does he go away just to come back as a babyface because he was so good as a heel? Like, I mean,
is this run by Roman Reigns gearing him up to be an all-time top 5 WWE champion / superstar?
I think so. I think that's the whole purpose of the story thing and the way they're building him. I'm telling you, it's like they looked at Cena's, accomplishments and said, how do we make this better? Yeah. It doesn't have to be better by much. It doesn't even necessarily have to be quote unquote better. It just has to be different, good in different areas, and the consistency of like not losing the title, is what's different, is what's making it its own thing, now we're tacking on thousands of days, right? So who's going to do that? I mean, now we're stepping into like Hogan, Backlund, Bruno type of, talk here.
Right.
So I always feel like WWE now wants to slowly push that away, those guys away, and try to erase it by adding on the new guys, right? So like now when you do those all-time title runs, right, days, it's like thousands and thousands. It's like you want that modern guy right up in the middle of that, like top 2 or 3. So who knows? I mean, like seriously, like we could go another 2 or 3 WrestleManias and be like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, realistically, And another thing could be like maybe they just won't do it until they feel they've got someone on the opposite end that could keep up. Maybe it was true what he was saying about, no one's on his level, no one's this, no, and it's hard to argue that there isn't anybody.
He really
right?
is the one.
That's what I'm saying. Like maybe that was fed to him. Maybe he just was like, this really is my house. Like, it is, but I don't know. It's, but yeah, I think this whole build and this whole run that we're watching now, they'll piece it all in his Hall of Fame thing, and they'll go all the way back to the first WrestleMania he main evented, and how Seth took it from him, and then how he went on a tear after that and destroyed Undertaker and blah blah blah. And
revisionist history.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is all going to be in there, and like we're right in the middle of it. I don't even think we're close to the end yet, because I feel like they could go thousands of days with. Who knows what they're going to do? With their schedule is lighter than it's probably ever been.
Yep.
Especially for him. And he's just kind of a machine right now. He's just firing on all cylinders. So why slow down at all? As long as he stays healthy, he could just keep going.
I'm interested to see what's going to happen with the upcoming draft.
That was the other thing too, because that was the big announcement, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I heard there was an announcement, I couldn't understand what it would be. And then a buddy of mine at the gym was like, yeah, they're going to do that draft thing again. And I was like, what? Why?
Yeah. A more surprising announcement would have been if they would have said, we're going to do a brand split. I didn't know. I thought.
Yeah. Because I know that they pop in like no problem on each other's shows anyways. So
right. At their own convenience. So
what? Yeah.
What does it matter?
Maybe that's when AJ comes back. Like,
yeah.
And then my whole problem with that is like, well, you got both belts on one dude,
Right.
So is he allowed to just pop in on each show? Just him or just Heyman?
He has the keys to the forbidden door.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Forgot about those.
Oh God, I'm retarded. Am I allowed to say retarded? You know what? I'm just not going to say it again.
Special needs?
Sure.
Okay.
So, speaking of special needs, before we go, because we're running a little long in the tooth here, I just want to take a minute to plug this weekend's VPW 17 anniversary show.
17 years.
There's 10 matches on it.
Of course there is.
I promise you I didn't book all 10 of them.
There is.
But it's going to be a really great show. We got VSK and Eric James in the main event for the VPW title.
Is Tibbs going to write it on a piece of paper and stick it on the wall, on the brick wall with some duct tape where someone's like wrist tape?
No, I wrote it in a text message.
Oh.
To radio weeks ago, right?
Oh, okay.
And then he changes it and prints it, and then I stick it to the wall with duct tape.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. And but we got Eric and VSK in the main event for the title. We got Tibbs and Desmond Cole. I know you're kind of out of the Northeast scene for a while. Do you know who Desmond Cole is?
I do not.
All right. He's dude, he's like a young dude and he's super talented, right? He's like got like a stocky little build, but he's athletic and agile as shit. He's really creative. I can't put him over enough. He does this suplex that when he takes the bump, he nips right back up. It's goddamn incredible. He actually had a match with Scorpio, Too Cold Scorpio, at Limitless Wrestling a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And after the match, Scorpio took the mic and put him over for like fucking 5 minutes.
Oh, cool.
And nice. Dude's getting out there and making his name known. He's the New York State champion right now, and they're going to have a fucking banger.
Nice.
And victoryprowrestling.com for information on that. Sorry I had to do it. I'm obligated.
That's fine.
I work there, and he is going to edit this later. So
hopefully correctly this time.
Yeah. Hopefully he does it right. Fucking dick. It's fine. You can say whatever you want at the end because he's not going to listen to it anyway.
Right. Exactly.
Right. All right. Well.
All right.
Rick, this was episode 2. I think this one went great.
Yeah, this sucked way less.
Way less. We didn't step on each other as much. This went pretty well.
Well, we didn't have a whole weekend of WrestleMania to get through.
Yeah.
Like, that hurt my brain.
Totally.
Felt like school.
Yeah.
So.
Oh shit, we're still recording.
Yep.
All right. This has been Podfluxxx, and we'll catch you fuckers next week. Say bye, Rick.
Next week. Bye.
Oh, now I'm gonna click that? No, drop. Drag this, click that.